Today's show is brought to you by our new presenting sponsor, Hard Rock Bet. We talk a lot of football here on 3 and Out, but there's so much more to bet on. The NBA is obviously in full swing. I was watching Michigan State and Arkansas play basketball. College hoops is back. Even the NHL is rock and rolling. So if you haven't tried your first bet yet on Hard Rock Bet, there's still time for you to get $150 in bonus bets if you win. Just place a $5 bet, and if it hits, you not only get your winnings, but an extra $150 in bonus bets. The Hard Rock Bet Sportsbook app is the only legal sportsbook for whenever you're in Florida. And it's also live in Arizona, Ohio, Jersey, Indiana, Tennessee, Virginia, Illinois, and Colorado. So download the Hard Rock Bet app today and make your first deposit. This Veterans Day, the nation pauses to honor the men and women who have stood to protect our freedoms. They have shown courage, sacrifice, and love of country. Folds of Honor carries their sacrifice forward by providing scholarships to the spouses and children of America's fallen or disabled service members and first responders. Join us. Become a Folds of Honor wingman with a monthly donation of $13 at foldsofhonor.org. Together, sacrifice can be met with hope. What is going on, everybody? How are we doing? Before we dive into Monday Night Football, I got to tell you about my friends from Zone Pouches. This product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Underage sale prohibited. If you're as competitive as I am, you always are looking for something to help you stay dialed in, and I had to be dialed in tonight, even though that game was a little slow. And for me, that thing is Zone Nicotine Pouches. You can catch me with my mint flavor right here. And here's the great part. Not to mention 20 pouches per can versus 15 with the other guys. Choose Zone and dominate the day. Use the promo code 3andout20 on NicoKick.com for 20% off at checkout. Well, that was quite the game because it was 0-0 for the majority of it. We had to buy another streaming package in Hulu just to consume the game, and the Eagles come out victorious. A lot went on. The crazy ending of Sirianni going for it. I guess you could live with going for it if you ran manageable plays, but they ran a go route to A.J. Brown. We will dive into that. I do think the headline is the Packers. They've lost back-to-back games at Lambeau. The negative momentum and buzz on Jordan Love, Matt LaFleur, that combination feels like it's only going to grow. We can dive into both those guys' performances. I thought Jordan Love came on definitely in the second half, but LaFleur, the negativity surrounding him is only going to grow. And, A.J. Brown, quite the saga to have such a talented player. The trade talks, obviously the trade deadline's over. He went the majority of the game without getting targeted till the end, but you can't even make this stuff up. A couple other things for tonight. Tyler Shough. I went back. I got a text from someone in the Big Easy, and they're like, "Do you see my guy?" I'm like, "No." So I went back and I watched the highlights. He actually played pretty good. So props to Tyler Shough. Some thoughts on Mike McDaniel. We got a lot of coaches getting fired. I did a video earlier today. Reaction video. It's not going to be on a podcast, so it's only on YouTube for Brian Daboll when they announced that he got fired. And then a couple other things, and we'll get out of here tonight. But let's just start with the ending of that game because the first half was rough. There's no way around it. That was awful offensive football. We had turnovers. We had 3 and outs. I mean, the craziest stat Aikman mentioned that the Philadelphia Eagles lead the league in 3 and outs. And I get it, their offensive line isn't as good this year. Saquon Barkley's not making the consistent explosive plays. But they still got Saquon Barkley. They still got Jalen Hurts. They got Dallas Goedert. They got A.J. Brown. They got Devontae Smith. Like, that's a crazy stat. No wonder people are on the offensive coordinator, who I thought did a valiant effort tonight. The defenses were really good. Fangio's one of the best. He's got a lot of those young guys balling, and obviously Jeff Hafley has been a stud most of this season. But I just think if we fast forward right to the end of the game, the more I thought, my initial reaction was like, what is Sirianni doing when he went for it on fourth down? They have no timeouts. He's basically, if he doesn't get it, he gives them the ball at the 35-yard line with like 25 to 30 seconds to go. If they just pick up, a couple first downs, they will have an opportunity to kick a 50-yard field goal. And you got a great possession wide receiver in A.J. Brown and a big-time tight end, and he runs a go route down the left side. And obviously it's broken up, and then Jordan Love's given the ball. What I don't understand is the first play, LaFleur, they dial up a bomb to Christian Watson, who obviously is one of the faster players in the league. But why not just try to pick up 15 yards like they did a play later and put them, or a couple plays later, and put themselves, like a 64-yard field goal with 15 seconds left, and then give yourself an opportunity for another chunk play. And instead of having to attempt, a 60-plus yard field goal in the freezing cold in the wind, which even if you had Justin Tucker in his prime or Brandon Audrey, that's not going to happen, right? The only opportunity you would have to tie that game was probably, especially McManus is coming back from a quad injury. I mean, that looked like watching a 25 handicap tee off at TBC Scottsdale. I mean, that was pretty embarrassing of an effort. Never had a chance. I bet he would have struggled to kick the 50-yard field goal. So you have to know that as a coach. And I think we can just jump right to my main headline on this game is I thought Matt LaFleur in the second half, that's pretty rough. And a lot of people have been on this guy. A lot of people have been questioning, like, is this guy good enough? And this season has been up and down. Obviously, anytime you lose to the Carolina Panthers like they did last week at home as a big favorite, people are going to be, on you when you coach a team like the Packers. I looked it up tonight because I'm watching the Packers on TV and I go, I feel like I've watched this color, Lambeau Field, the uniforms, my entire life on Monday Night Football. And if you're going to play on Monday Night Football, typically, consistently, you're going to be good, right? And I typed in to my Chat GPT app, how many times or how many straight years have the Packers played on Monday Night Football? It was 32. So basically, almost 80% of my life, and for the last 32 years, the Packers have played on Monday Night Football. It's an incredible stat, longest running in the NFL. But I thought LaFleur in the second half, when Love was actually playing better, they had multiple illegal formations. One of them cost them a big first down. And that to me is coaching, because the old adage goes, you're either coaching it or allowing it to happen. But on situations like that, where they clearly they practice heavier packages because they got one of the best running backs in the league that they can run play action off of, like, that's simply on the coaching. It just is. And I get, their first-round receivers out, their star tight end tore his ACL. They lose their best wide receiver in this game to a chest injury in the second half. But, like, that, so it's like sometimes you're going to have drops. And they did tonight. They had a bad drop on a fourth down. Like, that's not on the player. It's on the wide receiver, but I'm not saying not on Jordan Love. I don't put that on Matt LaFleur. It's on the wide receiver. And they had a couple drops tonight that were just pretty bad. But the illegal formations, both of them in the second half, in big spots, is just an embarrassment. And honestly, when you get gifted that situation, when Sirianni goes for it, and you try to dial up like some deep post, that the likelihood of that hitting is very small. And it's not like there is 10 seconds left. You got almost 30 seconds. So if you hit two chunk plays, you at least give yourself a shot at like a 48-yard field goal. And that's not what they did. And I understand the frustration when it comes on Matt LaFleur after watching that game, because their defense is really, really good. It really is. I mean, Parsons, the one play where he chased down Jalen Hurts when he was scrambling to his right. Cooper, the linebackers, making plays all game. They play really hard. They are a well-coached, physical, fast defense. It's a defense that you go, we can make a run in the playoffs with. The offense, No chance. Absolutely no chance. One, Jordan Love is too big of a roller coaster. I mean, in the first half, I thought Jordan Love, I don't want to say it was like Aaron Rodgers Sunday Night Football bad, but he was not good. I mean, at one point in time, late in the first half, I think they had one passing yard. He had thrown one 12-yard completion, and he'd also taken an 11-yard sack, which the 11-yard sack was just awful. I mean, he just scrambled and turned right into it. It was really, really bad. But when your quarterback's going to be up and down, it is incumbent on your coach, who is also the play caller and quote unquote a quarterback guru, to figure it out. Like that, like ultimately Sirianni, his job, motivation, corral the coaches, motivate the players, the timeouts, when to go for it. Like he's the CEO. Matt LaFleur is not the CEO. Matt LaFleur is the maestro over there when the offense is on the field. That's why when the offense sucks for the Eagles, everyone talks shit about the offensive coordinator, not Nick Sirianni. And I thought Matt LaFleur tonight had his first moment for me where I went, yeah, he might be in trouble. If they're a wild card team and they get bounced in the first round, I can see a scenario where he's not the coach for the Green Bay Packers in 2026. And I've been talking about that because I've been getting asked about that a lot. I don't know if I ever believed it. I just felt the momentum from fans, from the internet talking about it. Tonight, sitting on my couch, taking that game in, when that thing ended, especially the way it ended in the fourth quarter, and I'm not even just talking about that last 30-second sequence of their offense, just the entire fourth quarter, the play calling, even this. Like, you can tell me Josh Jacobs makes a mistake when he turns in on what would have been probably minimum 35-yard gain if he just turns the right way. But why are the details, the illegal formations, Josh Jacobs turning the wrong way? That is a reflection of coaching. That's the way football works. You don't fire Josh Jacobs. Based on the contract, you're definitely not firing Jordan Love. You're not firing these wide receivers. You're going to fire the head coach. So I finally come to the conclusion that Matt LaFleur is now officially in trouble. It was talked about before the season that, they didn't get a contract extension. And then you watch a situation like this on Monday Night Football against the defending champs, against a team that's going to be in the playoffs, and you make coaching mistakes, and it costs you the game. Because this was a situation, it's not like, well, we just got boat raced. We lost 24-7, right? We got killed. No, it was like 0-0 the majority of the game, right? You lost 10-7. 10-7. So I think that one's going to be tough to stomach. And when you have a franchise like this losing at Lambeau, that ain't good. That's not good at all. And we look last year, what did the Packers in? They went 1-5 in the division. What's doing them in this year? Well, it's like they're losing to the bad teams, like the Panthers and the Browns, and now they're also losing to the good teams. So I think the Packers right now are they got to have a come to Jesus moment, because if the Lions found a little momentum with Dan Campbell calling plays, well, they get the Eagles next week on Sunday Night Football off not only a short week on the road. What time is Philly going to get in their beds tonight? Well, it's not tonight. They will get in their bed probably like 4 or 5 in the morning. So if you're a coach, Sirianni and some of those guys, are they just coming right in to the facility? And I just think that this thing could separate, and this thing could separate fast. And when you make a trade like Micah Parsons, who they clearly went all in on, they gave 2 first-round picks. They gave $188 million, which is, the biggest contract they've ever given to a player, not a quarterback. And I don't even think they're anywhere near giving. I mean, that contract for them is going to hold for a long time for a position player. Not good. Not good at all. The pressure, you can feel it. And, LaFleur's tightly wound. He's got that tight haircut. He's got those perfect eyebrows. And now his team's just dropping game after game after game. He got very, very lucky that game against the Cowboys is a tie and not a loss. Because if that thing was a loss, he would be effed. I mean, he would be in major, major trouble. So when it comes to the Eagles, I thought defensively, Fangio did a really good job. I mean, they have a lot of young talent. I got to give me 1 second. My AC feels like it's not on. I am so hot right now. That's the great part about technology. You just go to your Nest and you check this bad boy and you look at the office and yeah, it's 72 degrees. That is, we gotta turn that thing down to 67. But when I was watching the Eagles tonight, I was blown away. Jalen Hunt, if you remember a couple years ago, he was the guy when he was drafted that picked up when Howie said, Jalen, this is Howie Roseman, the GM. And he said, what up, Big Pimpin'? And he's turned into a good player. I mean, coming off the edge, I was really impressed with him. And you get Jalen Phillips, who immediately starts. He's going to be good for them. Uh, you know, Campbell had a bad PI, but he's a good young player. Obviously, Quinyon Mitchell, the guy they drafted in the first round, you could argue, besides Stingley, he is the most talented young corner in the NFL. Like, if Sauce Gardner's going for 2-1s, what's that guy going for? Cooper DeJean making plays. Obviously, Jalen Carter is a monster. I would be pretty excited about the young nucleus of the defense for the Eagles. I mean, they have one of the most talented defensive coordinators in the last 20 years. So defensively, like let's face it, when you have an offense that leads the league in three and outs, when you have an offense that just can just go, just sputter. I mean, look horrendous. And their run game, and I think at this point in time, like Saquon had the big pass where he did the spin move and he went for like 35 yards. I don't know if he's lost a quarter step or whatever. But I think a big reason that they're not having the explosive plays, their offensive line isn't nearly as good, right? You still got Mailata at left tackle, but you saw tonight Lane Johnson hurts his ankle. He's been in and out of the lineup. He's, a couple games this year, he's been dinged up and had to come out, and they've had to come with a backup right tackle. Their center play is not as good as it has been since Kelsey's retired. Obviously, you use Becton, who was probably one of the more physical right guards, might have been the most physical right guard in the league. And their left guard situation, because of injuries, has not been ideal. And they're just not as potent running the ball. And you saw tonight, like the passing game, they don't target A.J. Brown. I mean, after the first drive where he got a couple targets, they didn't target him basically the rest of the game, which is insane. I was thinking tonight, A.J. Brown is like, I have home insurance, I have car insurance, I have health insurance, like all my different insurance policies. I pay a ton of money, like most of you guys, and I don't use any of it because ideally, not sick, I don't get in a car wreck. But if I'm ever in a pinch, I have to go to it, and I'm going to be very dependent on them. That's what it feels like. AJ Brown, he's just the Philadelphia Eagles insurance policy. They paying him a lot, they don't use him often, but when they do, they're very dependent on him bailing them out. And hell, they tried tonight with the game on the line on that fourth down. They threw it to him after basically not looking his way all night long. So I think that thing, now that we've passed the trade deadline, anytime you get into a situation where everyone's just constantly talking about, like, even he's like, yeah, during the bye, was with my family. If we got traded, we got traded. Even Jalen Hurts is like, well, he didn't get traded. He's here, and we like him. He's a big part of the offense. Well, not really. And I just think that the defense is going to have to carry them this year because offensively, they're just not as potent. They don't have big plays with the run game. In their pass game, you just never know. Like at any moment, you saw tonight, he hits that pump fake, hits Devontae, who smokes the safety. Jalen underthrew it a little bit, and Devontae kind of went Heisman, just goes up, high points it. Just an elite play. Like that dude is probably the best 165-pound player in NFL history. I mean, what a talent. I mean, very, very special talent. Route running, ball skills, toughness for a guy his size. And they have no business to not be better in the passing game with their weapons, but it's just out of sync. And I have a hard time just blaming the offensive coordinator, but it's clearly just a little out of whack. Now, the Packers are good on defense. It's cold. This is not a game where even if you're on, you're going to score 30 points. But when you're just doing nothing for the majority of the game, at the end of the day, though, I think what they would say is, listen, we're playing a good team on the road, Monday Night Football. We win. See you later. And I think if you would have told them, hey, you get the Packers and the Lions back to back on the road. If you win one of the two of them, you've done your job. It's like a 7-game series in the NFL or in the NBA or baseball. If you are on the road the first two games, all you're looking to do is split. If you come home 1-1, you're in good shape because they showed their schedule after this Lions game. It's a lot of Cowboys, a lot of Commanders. I saw the Raiders on there, a lot of winnable games. So if I'm Philadelphia, I am feeling very, very good. Winning this game takes a lot of pressure off this Lions game, which you're going to be at a big disadvantage of. And if the Eagles are going to win the NFC again, because that is the way Howie and Jeffrey, they showed Jeffrey during the game. That's the thing. The Packers, it's like, is LaFleur going to get fired? Who's really mad at him? Ed Policy? How much juice does he have? Is it the GM's call? Whose actual call is it? Can the GM fight for him? Who knows? Like, I know in Philly, when you see Jeffrey Lurie, and maybe it's just he was freezing cold, he was like, he was not looking happy. Like, this is not, we are paying way too much money to look this shitty. But a win's a win. And I just think the Eagles have to find a way to get more just explosive offensive plays because they have way too much talent. Like, I understand at points tonight, like, the Packers kind of have a mash unit out there. So when the ball hits you in the chest, it's where I will defend Jordan Love in the second half. Like, he made some nice throws. Guys just did not catch it. And this was not a situation where it's snowing or sleeting. Like, when the ball hits you in the numbers in the National Football League, you got to catch it, right? I don't expect you to catch everything. Not everyone's Jerry Rice or Randy Moss, but a ball in the numbers on Monday Night Football on third or fourth and long, you just can't let the thing hit off your chest plate and hit the ground. Like, that's how you get cut. So, yeah, other than that, we made it through because I've had to order Hulu like most of you guys that have YouTube TV. I'm not in the position having doing this for a living to just be like, fuck the apps. I'm not paying for another app. Though I am kind of jealous of that mindset, even though I think a lot of people saying that are still paying for something to watch the game. So I'm not saying everyone's being disingenuous, but I have a hard time thinking someone is just going to sit at their house who has a lot of money, some of these former players, even though they tweeted like, no chance. And tonight, not one thing last week, Cowboys Cardinals, easy one to skip. Honey, you want to go out to dinner? Hey, call some buddies. You want to go get some pops? Right? This is a game that you're going to want to watch, even though it wasn't turned out to be a great game and really wasn't even that watchable. But when the game started, you would feel some FOMO if you like football. So a lot of people were paying someone, like I did, order Hulu TV to watch this thing because it does not feel like we are any closer to the resolution to Disney. Like, they have two options. You can either get bent over and do what Google tells you to do, and this is their number, or Google will say, we don't give a shit, because I truly don't believe they care. And it's such a small, small sliver of their entire operation. I just don't think they're losing that much sleep over it. And Bob Iger is either going to have to give in and take what is offered, or this situation is not going to go away. And for those of you that are in the predicament that I'm in, you almost have to just, we had the basic Hulu because she watches some show. And I know because my brother a couple years ago had Hulu TV. And then I've just heard a lot of people talking about it. They own Disney. So I'm like, I bet they have all the ESPN things. So I just upgraded it, whatever it is, $20. And not going to complain about it like most people because it is what it is. I don't have a choice. But ideally, I would just like to consume all my shit on YouTube TV. But I also understand Google, like, they're the big bad wolf. It's like, what does Costco do? They tell everyone, you want in, you do what we tell you to do. Why? Because you need us more than we need you. And we do not need you. And like, that's just the way business works. So I'm not a Google shareholder. I'm not a Disney shareholder. I am a YouTube TV consumer, though. So it would make my life a lot easier if they could just figure something out. And Bob Iger could just wave the white flag. You're not winning this one, buddy. Couple other things. I had a friend text me that like, you need to check out Tyler Shough. I'm like, I'll be honest, I didn't watch any of the game. Like, that was just not getting my attention on Monday or Sunday morning, I guess it was. And so I just went back and I just typed in Tyler Shough to YouTube and I just watched all of his completions. I was blown away. He actually looked really good. I get it. He's playing Carolina. And I also get it. He's 26 years old. He's probably the oldest rookie or one of them in the history of the NFL. I think Brandon Weeden, remember but 15 years ago or 12 years ago, I think was, I don't know, 28, 29 years old, and he was obviously not very good. And I'm not trying to overreact to one game, but if you just go to YouTube and type in Tyler Shough, kind of a weird spelling, highlights against the Panthers, you will be really impressed. He's big, he can move, and he has a big arm. And he made some beautiful passes. He was also really, really good on third down. He had a beautiful bomb down the right sideline to Chris Olave, and like you just watch him in that game compared to the quarterback on the other side, it's not even a question the guy that has more talent. It's the 26-year-old over the 5'9", 180-pound guy. And I'm not trying to beat up on Bryce Young. I like him as a guy, but he's just not a very good player. I mean, at this point, you just have to acknowledge like sometimes a guy gets drafted and you look back, you go, how did that guy get drafted number one overall? And it's always easy to play Monday morning quarterback in draft situations. I'm as guilty as anybody. And I'm not acting like Tyler Shough is the next Josh Allen or Justin Herbert. But when you just watch those two guys play, if you just type in the highlights of the game, or I looked over a couple times when the Panthers had the ball, and he threw one interception. Bryce Young did, where it was probably like an 8 to 10 yard out, and he's just throwing it to a spot, but he could not see because the offensive tackle is getting driven into him, and the defensive lineman, they're both 5, 6 inches taller than him. He has no vision. So he's just throwing it over there, and it was like just your classic out route. The guy sitting, it was the easiest pick of all of Sunday. And I was, Shough went 19 to 27 for 282 yards and 2 touchdowns. And again, made big plays with his legs, made big plays scrambling around to throw, threw a beautiful deep ball, threw a couple seed passes over the middle. Because some of those, like you saw tonight, Jalen Hurts to the backup tight end had the one. When you have to layer a throw, it is down the seam. It could be a really, really hard pass, right? Because you want to put a little air on it, but if a guy's running and there are two safeties that are going to kind of converge, you also have to kind of put it on a line. It's one of the harder throws, I think, in the NFL. Any throw over a linebacker, but also not too high, you can't give too much air, is why these guys make a lot of money. There's only a small percentage of guys that can make those passes on this or in this planet or on this planet. And Shough proved that he kind of had that throw in the back. I was blown away by him. The big news of Monday was Daboll getting fired, and which we had talked about yesterday when I was with Colin. It was like this feels inevitable especially after the stories that came out during the week of Daboll almost getting fired when they kind of crumbled to Denver, and their ownership was going back and forth, and I think cooler heads prevailed when they landed in New York. Maybe a couple cocktails and everyone just chilled out. But there was no coming back from yesterday. You can't blow a 10-point lead with 6 or 7 minutes to go with the penalty situation, and it cost him his job today. And clearly they're giving Kafka a run. But what's funny is Mike McDaniel gets shit on all the time about having no business being a head coach. When was he going to get fired? And Brian Daboll went 20, 40, and 1. 20, 40, and 1. I mean, that's really bad. I looked today, Mike McDaniel in Miami, which is a way worse franchise historically than the Giants. I mean, I would say Miami post Dan Marino in like the late 90s has been one of the worst franchises in the NFL. Mike McDaniel has gone 31-30. Now, this year they're 3-7. They are not very good. But after the GM gets fired, everyone's saying this team sucks. They trade a bunch of guys. 2 of their last 3 games, they have beaten the living piss out of their opponent. 3 weeks ago, they played Atlanta, and they blew the doors off them. Yesterday against the Bills, which I would say most people after the Chiefs game would say this is a legitimate Super Bowl contender, that game was not close. The final score might say 30-13. That game felt 50-0. They beat the crap out of them. There was a pretty funny video of Mike somewhere in South Beach driving around by the Bills bar, like rolling down the window and smiling. I wonder if he's getting a bad rap. I really do. Not that he should get a contract extension or even keep his job, but I think it shows how we pick and choose. It does feel that a lot of people, this he's goofy, he's small, he wears these stupid pants. That everyone just started picking. This is what I've been saying about the Browns forever. I don't hear anyone. Every time I look up, Browns lose, Browns lose, Browns lose, Browns lose. They're playing Dylan fucking Gabriel. They drafted him in the third round. Browns lose. You could you Google, you wouldn't find anyone be like, yeah, I think the Browns need to contemplate making some tough decisions with management and coaching. No one says a thing. Everyone's like, Daboll's got to go, McDaniel's got to go. It's crazy. I mean, if I was Mike McDaniel, the Browns would die to have my record over the last 4 years. They would die. And the one thing he has shown is like, listen, we could say whatever we want about Tua. Like on given weeks, I can make him look pretty good. Every time I look up at Dylan Gabriel, he looks awful. So, and again, it gets back to, listen, the Shador thing was a story in itself. Never seen anything quite like that. Obviously, there was a lot of stories that came out after the draft. Like most people, I thought, listen, he might not go in the first round, but he's probably going to go in like second or third. Then you go in the fifth. Not in a million years did I ever think Dylan Gabriel is going to go in the third. I knew a lot of hardcore Oregon fans like, yeah, he'd probably get drafted in like the seventh round. It's not because he wasn't a decent college player. He was good, but he was tiny. He's got a weak arm. You play, we're seeing it all over the country. Like you saw it tonight. You play in Green Bay, you better have a big arm. Wind is pumping, it's freezing cold. You play in Cleveland, wind is pumping, freezing cold. You better have an arm. Right? Baltimore, Philadelphia, New York, New England. You give me a weak arm quarterback, I will short that team because it's not possible to play, that team over a period of time in November and December. You can't function. You can't pierce the wind. It's like Caleb's ball, whoop, right through the wind. You need a strong arm. Look at who the two best Bears quarterback. We'll see how good Caleb is, once they start playing some real defenses. But Caleb's arm's going to work in Chicago. Just like once upon a time, Jay Cutler's arm worked in Chicago. Dylan Gabriel's arm ain't going to work in Cleveland. I think most people in the NFL say neither is Shador. Neither guy has a big-time arm. It doesn't translate. So, but no one ever says anything about Cleveland. They just get to fly under the radar. It's like, yet they just get fucking worked. They just lost to the Jets. I saw a stat. Justin Fields, he did not, if you put his passing yards and his rushing yards together, it wasn't even 100 yards. You lose games like that, like it does not get much worse. Before we dive into a couple more things, I do need to tell you about my friends at GameTime. Best ticketing app in America. So if you want to go to a football game, a professional football game, anywhere around the country, you want to travel, you want to watch your team on the road, you're a Chiefs fan, you want to go watch them play in Denver, is your team going to Vegas, you want to go to Vegas for the weekend, any game. They have incredible flash deals. They have tickets for as low as $100. The price you see on the app is the price you will pay for the ticket. There are no hidden fees when you check out. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use the code JOHN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code JOHN for $20. Download the GameTime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Okay, a couple more things. I did see there was a story on Front Office Sports about, it's so hot in my office. I got to make sure the AC is low. I don't know why it's so hot in here. Is LSU owes Brian Kelly $53 million. And if you owed me $53 million, there is no deal I would cut with you, right? And I had heard people saying, like, would he accept a front payment of like whatever, 80% or 85% all up front? Basically, like I give you 40 or $45 million, and they get, or maybe $38 million, and it gets them off the hook a little bit for having to pay him over a period of time. It's time value money. So I went to a little AI and I started typing in, what is the present value if I needed to get a lump sum right now, right, to cut a deal with LSU if I was Brian Kelly, and I did conservative, like 4% interest rate, and the number was like $46 million. If I did like 7%, it was like $43 million. Instead of just taking $53 million over a 6-year period, because money is more valuable than money in 4, 5, 6 years, right? But the report was that they had offered him 25 to 30 million dollars, and Brian Kelly rejected both. And I do wonder if some of these programs, I think Florida State is going through this. They just got worked by the worst Clemson team in 20 years, but they can't afford to pay Mike Norvell $50 million. So when you make a decision emotionally to fire somebody, and I'm not saying they were wrong to fire Brian Kelly, he was horrendous. That they were not good. He was in year four and had built a bad team. He's an offensive line guy, and their offensive line couldn't block me or you. I mean, it's a major, major problem. So you better have the money to figure this out and understand the economics of this sport of like, why would he cut you a deal? So when it's reported that he's not going to accept a buyout of 25 to 30 million, it's like, yeah, no shit. No, my dog would say no to that. What are we talking about? And I do wonder if some of these schools, specifically LSU, made such a rash emotional decision and the AD just got fired right after. So the guy that made the decision didn't even last an extra week. And I think sometimes in these situations with money, I've been saying this forever. In college football, different than the NFL. Like when you're an agent and you negotiate a coaching contract in the NFL, you're dealing with the GM, the guy that negotiates the salary cap, and the owner, a lot of them that have a lot of business experience. Their job is money. They talk about money, they talk about contracts, and they talk about $1 million deals. What's guaranteed and what's not guaranteed. Where in college athletics, you deal with an athletic director. A lot of those guys work their way up either in marketing or fundraising, not necessarily doing $50 million contracts with an individual coach. They were just, hey, will you give us $500,000? We'll give you a suite, right? That's how they work their way to become quote unquote guy running the athletic department. But ultimately, he's not even in charge. He answers to the president and usually the board of regents, which is full of academia, full of academic people whose life revolves much more around the classroom and the grants that a lot of these schools get from government to fund research, fund things in the academics part of their institution, which is the reason the institution exists. And clearly, Jimmy Sexton has taken advantage of all these people over the, I would say, robust economic boom of college football. And you could include college basketball as well over the last 15, 20 years of television and has taken the amounts of money to a completely different level. Where in the NFL, it is still very, very difficult to negotiate crazy contracts. Like Andy Reid had to win Super Bowls before he started making big money for the Chiefs. Like Andy Reid wasn't making, I don't think, $15 million 7, 8 years ago, right? It is hard to get huge money in the NFL, and even once you do, some of these buyouts are not like college football because you're not just going to take advantage of Howie Roseman, Jeffrey Lurie, and the 7 people he has negotiating contracts. This is not the way it's going to work. It's going to be much more difficult, even if like you have a good relationship with everyone in because you work hand in hand with them, right? And I just think this college football situation. I read an article about I think Feldman and a bunch of guys talked to a bunch of unnamed agents if they thought things were actually going to change, and all the agents laughed. They said, "No, no chance. Like these contracts are not going to change because you won't get my client if you do not follow the precedent that's already been set by all these deals." So I think Brian Kelly, listen, he might be a douchebag. I wouldn't want him to be my coach. I have no problem with them firing him. But once you decided to do it, like 53 was going to be the number. Best case scenario, maybe if you could somehow find $45 million to cut him a check today, maybe you get him to accept that. But you can't. And now you're going to be stuck paying him for a long, long time. Okay. I don't think I've really mentioned this guy in the last 24 hours. And I do like these international games once the daylight saving hits and we go to mountain time here in Arizona and the international game starts at 7:30. I can get up, have a cup of coffee, and watch kickoff, no problem. And I would say one guy who has been zoned in this entire season, and it's been really, really fun to watch is Jonathan Taylor. Personally, my favorite position in football is running back. It encompasses everything, right? You got to take punishment, physically between the tackles and in the trenches, like you are a linebacker coming downhill. So you have to run into people countless times a game, just straight downhill. There is no avoiding it. You have to have the speed and the agility to have outside the tackles, make DBs miss and run around them. You obviously have to pass protect like you are an offensive lineman with screaming linebackers and outside linebackers and pass rushers coming off the edge where you have to square them up in the chin and slow them down before your quarterback makes a throw. Obviously, you also have to catch the ball like a wide receiver in this modern game to be considered a three down, all around high end back. And watching Jonathan Taylor, it's kind of like football porn. One, I really marvel. Like, to me, a good running back, you you watch any good player, bust a 30, 40, 50 yard run. My mom can see the ability. But like sometimes when you watch a guy run for 7 yards, it's like, God, that guy, that should have been a 2 yard gain, or that should have been a 1 yard loss. It happened tonight multiple times. Like, I think Josh Jacobs right now, listen, what Saquon did last year and the hype on Saquon over the course of his career, special talent. Like Dave Gettleman once said, he was a Hall of Fame talent coming out of Penn State. I think Josh Jacobs is a top 3 or 4 running back in the league. I mean, from a physical standpoint, he did have the brain fart tonight where he ran the wrong way out of the backfield, but catches the ball well, breaks tackles, has great feet within the hole, can make a guy miss, can break arm tackles, has excellent short area quickness. Like, it's just a pretty special player. And it's just really fun to watch a running back have a great season because it's week in, week out. Everyone on the other team knows you're going to get the ball. Everyone on the other team knows that they're going to depend on you to carry them. And when a situation like the Colts, like, let's face it, Daniel Jones is not some elite quarterback. And you saw, if you watched and got up early, once you start hitting him, I don't want to say he melts because he's not afraid or anything, but he does not play as well. And it felt like he was kind of crumbling. He did make a nice throw to Tyler Warren for a big first down, but it was like, we're just going to ride this guy. And he has 244 yards. He basically has the game clinching big run. I guess it wasn't the game clinching, but it felt like a moment that helped win them the game. Obviously, they ended up winning it in overtime. But I've just been blown away by watching this guy play. And we have 3 straight years now, from Christian McCaffrey 3 years ago or 2 years ago to Saquon last year to Jonathan Taylor this year, where we have just seen a running back basically put a franchise on their back and be their best offensive player. And I understand that everyone votes for quarterbacks. The MVP feels like has become a quarterback award, but like, if the Colts win 13 or 14 games and are the number one seed in the AFC, this guy has to be very seriously in the conversation because he's not only clearly their best player. I mean, he's on pace potentially for 25 ish touchdowns, 17, 1,800 yards, and he is the engine in this offense. And I really thoroughly enjoyed Sunday morning getting up and just watching Jonathan Taylor play football. And if you're a Colts fan, you guys have had some great offensive players. I mean, if you're my age, from Peyton Manning to Andrew Luck to all the guys Peyton played with, to Andrew played with T.Y. Hilton, to now this group, Alec Pierce is really, really talented guy. Tyler Warren looks like he's got a chance to be a star. But Jonathan Taylor, every once in a while, you just like, I had a special season. And it feels like that is what he's doing right now. And when all else isn't working, call 28's number.